welcome back to Daphne Dishes again. So today I'm making a plum cake. It's called an Italian plum cake, and it's out of A Platter of Figs by David Tanis, who was a pastry chef at David Tanis. And my husband bought this book, but we never cooked out of it. And I'm curious to see how this is going to be because it combines almonds and flour, which is a combination I love. This can be made in a tart pan, like here. According to the recipe, one can also make it in a spring foam pan. Spoiler alert. I actually ended up liking it better when I made it later in a spring foam pan. But the difference was I doubled the recipe. Now, some recipes don't work so well when you double them, but this one does. I weigh out the almonds. I weigh out almost everything, even my troubles. Next comes the sugar. And then it's time for the mini Cuisinart to blend and chop at the same time. Now, one of the things I love about this recipe is that everything can go into this little food processor. My late husband, Chef Mark Peel, taught me a great deal about being a professional chef, and I taught him about home cooking. He gave me credit for introducing him to this little chopper. Really comes in handy. Add the flour, and when I doubled the recipe, I just had to do this all in a couple of batches. You know, this little thing is just so much easier than getting that big full-size one down. Sometimes they're so heavy. In another bowl, combine the milk and the eggs and whisk. Now, if you melt the butter, be sure it's cool before you put it into the eggs so you don't cook the eggs. Slowly add the flour, sugar, almond concoction to the egg and butter and all that. Just whisk it all together. Now I've got the plums all cut and ready to go. One thing that's a little confusing about this recipe is that it calls for Italian plums. Now, regular markets here, we're not going to get Italian plums. Black plums are about as close as you can get. But you know what? I got some prunes too, because I thought, I always want to make something simpler and easier. But also, maybe Italian plums are sweeter, and prunes are pretty darn sweet, so I'm going to alternate, and then we can just decide when we eat it. This cake's not going to stick in this pan on my watch. I'm going to do parchment and oil. Yeah, after I did that fabulous artwork, I found out that you can actually order pre-cut round parchment paper. I will never be without them again. The batter might be a little thick, but don't worry, it'll all even out. I love all the almonds in this cake. It really makes it a great tea cake and more hearty than a regular cake, more like a meal. You can also pound it. That's also a good go-to. I'm doing the prunes and the plums here, but I'll tell you, I would not do the prunes again. I think that was not the brightest notion. Sprinkle it all with some sugar to give it a nice glaze, but like most of the things I bake, it has there's not too much sugar. It's not an overly sweet dessert. Bake at 350 for 40 to 45 minutes, closer to an hour if you double the recipe. Voila! David Tanis, who is the author of this recipe, says that the cake tastes best straight out of the oven. I disagree. I think it really holds up well. In fact, it holds up so well that I thought, if I had bakery, I would make this cake, because even if I didn't sell it all in the first couple of days, I could still sell it, and then I wouldn't have any spoilage and lose the food costs. Maybe I'm getting in the weeds here of how a restaurant owner brain works, but also, this is one of my favorite things to have. This is a glass dome that I always keep fresh baked goods that I make, and it keeps them nice and tight for a couple days. My kids bought it for me for Christmas before last, with my credit card, of course. When I made it as a tart pan or in the spring foam pan, my family loved it. In fact, they've asked for me to do it a few times. I was really pleased how it came out. Please like and subscribe and comment if you make this.